Hi everybody, welcome back to my YouTube channel, Bubbie Pins. I'm Bubbie, where I try and take some of the information that I've learned in my life and pass it off to you. And if you like it, you can pin it into yours. If not, scroll on by, different strokes for different folks. Today's YouTube topic is going to be crying and communication. When your child cries, there's going to be all different reasons why they're crying. For a newborn, the reason a baby would cry, probably 5 reasons. They're hungry, they're tired, they're wet or soiled, something inside their body is not feeling right. Maybe they are getting a diaper rash, maybe they're getting sick, or maybe they're afraid. Maybe they're afraid of something. It could happen. So what we want to do is we want to try and catch these as they're going. That doesn't mean that the second your child cries, second your little infant cries, you're right there, because they don't just wake up and go into the full blast, They wake up with a, eh. So when your child fully wakes up and does the full cry, with not like, oh, that they're soaking wet in sweat, don't let them get to that point. If you let them get to that point, you've already created some issues in there that we have to discuss when they're older. So you don't want that. But when they get to the full cry that fills their lung, that you can hear that they want, you go in, you get them. Maybe they cried for a minute. But until that minute, they might have done for 20 minutes. That's their waking up process. That doesn't mean I need you. That means I'm stretching, I'm getting up, I'm calling out. But the full cry means I need you. Answer that one. You pick them up and then you find the next things. Are they hungry? Well, you'll know by when you fed them. Newborns will need to eat maybe on demand, maybe every 2 hours. Every 2 hours and your milk comes in, or if you're nursing, like that. 3-month-old, every 3 hours. 4-month-old, maybe every 4. Talk to your pediatrician, I'm not the expert, but generally that's the rule of thumb. If you know you fed your child, you know you nursed your child. When you're nursing your child, you can talk to your local La Leche League. They really are the experts. But they're going to get their main nutrients from you in the first 5 minutes of nursing. So you will know that you fed your child. You nursed on one side, you switched to the other, you're giving bottles, you know how much their baby drank. So when your baby cries within the next 2-hour period in that infant, that newborn, you know one thing: they're not hungry. You can knock that one off the list. Probably I'll throw that in there for a disclaimer on YouTube, but they're probably not hungry. So what are they? Well, check their diaper. I like to change a baby before I nurse them. I also like to change them around 5 minutes after I nurse them, 10 minutes after I nurse them. Keeping them constantly dry is a really nice thing. And when you're changing your baby, that's when they have the most communication with your eyes. You're looking at them, you're telling them everything's cool, everything's fine, and you can give them nice baby massages and everything. Okay, when you use baby powder, when you're changing your diaper, the diaper of the babies, you never hold the powder like this and give a little squeeze, or like this and give a little squeeze, ever. It just creates a cloud. So a little bit into your hand like this, and then down into the baby, right? Just like that. Oh, never put a diaper on a baby when they are wet, even if they're wet from the wipes. Always want to keep your baby dry and clean before putting them on. I like to have a wet cloth, so that even after I use the wipes, a wet cloth with clean water, just to get the chemicals from the cloth off, making sure, and with a pat, and a pat with a tissue to make sure they're dry. Always to make sure you want to avoid diaper rash, because there's nothing more uncomfortable for a baby than have a diaper rash and then put a diaper on, and now that's not fun for the mom or the dad, because you've got a crying baby. So you want to try and avoid that. When your baby has a bowel movement, the first thing you do is you change that diaper. Don't let them sit in it like you would a wet diaper for, 10, 15 minutes, because the diapers will absorb the wet, but they do not absorb that stuff, right? So you have to change that diaper right away, because that will cause diaper rash within a minute. Talk to your doctor, not the expert, but it will. Okay. Enough of that. When you're burping your baby's going to cry because you just fed them. They're telling you it's enough. I don't want any more. But maybe I don't want any more because I have a burp, right? All right. Put the baby up on your shoulder like this, and you start to pat down at the bottom. Let's say here's the butt, right? I'm going to turn my hand around for a second. If this is the butt of the baby, go underneath. Give a little push up, and that pushes air up just like that. If I go to the bottom of the butt, push that butt up, and very gently push up, and then press, 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 press. Baby burps. If I hear you burping your baby from across the room, you're doing it wrong. I should never hear this. Nobody likes that. Try it on yourself. Ask somebody to burp you. You would hate that. No one likes it. It's a shock to the system, and it's not necessary. Under the butt, we'll push up like that. Up, 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 press, 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 and boom, out comes the burp. You might just hear a little bubble. Might not burp every single time, but this is the way you burp a baby. Okay. Another reason a child would cry is if they are afraid of being alone. If they're afraid of being alone, all you do is you lay them down on their stomach, wrap them like a burrito first, lay them down on their stomach, and give a little pat, and you sing to them while they're down there. A lot of times we have trouble transferring them from here or from here to the crib. The second they get in the crib, they're crying, right? So the lullabies can be down into the crib, right? They're down in the crib, you pat, 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 and you sing them the lullaby, you tell them the song. Same one over every single time. Children love routine. They become secure within the routine. So the same lullaby every time, over and over, the same 3 lullabies every time, over and over. And they will know when the last lullaby comes, it's a pat, 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 and good night. And out you walk and you close the door, right? And the child's not going to cry. And if they do, go back. Pat, 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 I'm here. It's so scary. They've been with you for 9 months as they're forming, and now all of a sudden they're out there in the world. And right now I'm just talking the first 3 months. I know there's people out there who talk about sleep training, and if that works for you, great. I'm a personal believer that there's no reason somebody should be crying. There's no reason for crying unless they got to be overtired. And if they're overtired, again, just rub their back. Sing to them. You can put them in a carriage if you want, into a stroller, not a stroller, like a buggy, and give a little rock. If they have a little rocking swing bassinet, a little rock. Nothing hard. If their head starts to bounce, you're doing it wrong, right? Okay, another reason that a child will cry if they are, if they're wet or soiled, if they are hungry, okay? Don't overfeed your child. If you have your mother-in-law off to the side, sorry mother-in-laws, I'm a mother-in-law, you have your mother-in-law off to the side and they're saying, maybe your milk didn't come in, maybe your baby's still hungry. First of all, it's supply and demand, so don't worry about that. Your milk will come in, you just keep nursing that infant every 2 hours, it'll work. In between, now we don't know what the supply is, and you've just got to work the rhythm and trust that it's going to work, right? So you got to give that bottle and trust that it's going to work. If you overfeed, we know what that's like. We're humans. If we are overfed, we're not comfortable. Our stomach hurts. And all the burping in the world isn't going to get rid of that, right? So don't overfeed your child. Look to see what they're like. Maybe they want stimulation. Maybe they just want to be talked to. Maybe they want you to play with them a little bit. And that's okay. Lay them on the back, play with them, show them pictures, sing songs. There are things that you can do. Look it up. All right. So crying communication. If the cry, pay attention to your child's cry, because when the cry gets to a high-pitched cry, something's really wrong. Call the doctor. All right, because if something's wrong on the inside and you know that you have fed them and you have changed them and you have burped them and they have slept and they're not afraid because you're there and they're still crying that high pitched cry, call the doctor. Let's find out what's going on inside. Okay. Now your child doesn't have any words of communication and therefore they're crying, and that makes sense, right? That is their form of communication. Your job is to transition the communication to something else. So before they have their tongue into the motor coordination to be able to get the words that they know in their head out of their mouth, that might take 18 months of existence or longer. So they know how to communicate a lot earlier. Teach them sign language. You don't have to learn sign language. You don't have to go into the real sign language. Teach them your own type of communication. Enough, right? If you're eating, you're feeding the little baby, maybe they're 6 months old, 9 months old, they already have a tooth. That's usually the time you would start giving some baby food. They don't want any more. You say to them, enough? Okay, no more. And you take it away. When you use your hands, when you're working with them, they will understand. You could say, you want mommy? Mommy's here. Mommy's here. Wait, are you thirsty? You make this up. I don't know sign language. I'm making it up. This is what I used to do with my children, right? So until they have the words, they can communicate without crying, and that's extremely important because there's a time period, and you have to watch for it in your child's life, where crying is no longer a necessary or even appropriate method of communication. And that transition period of in between when they have their words and not. And I've actually seen children on the street who are 5 years old who for some reason still think that crying is an appropriate means of communication. Guess what? It's not. And if your child is doing that, I would categorize that as a temper tantrum. Go back and see my video on temper tantrums and nip that in the bud. Okay. If I find there's anything I left out, I'll put it into my blog. Check out my blog. I'll put the address below, and you can get there and you can actually see written down the things that I discussed here, and a little bit more is added there. Have a good day. Ready for the next video.